Hello and good day, everyone. I'm Aaron Goldberg, contributing editor for IDG, and let me welcome you to our webinar where we're going to talk about the journey to hybrid cloud, new Azure Stack HCI solution. It's important to understand that next-generation HCI platforms for hybrid cloud deployments of Azure are going to be a critical part of infrastructure. Azure is a leading cloud platform that's often relied upon for numerous mission-critical applications and services. A key capability for every IT team is to look for the requisite performance to meet the demands of both current and next-generation applications. Today, we'll focus on providing you with the necessary information to start your decision process or begin planning your project to effectively deploy Azure in a hybrid cloud manner. This provides not only more options going forward, this approach solves many of the problems and limitations of current infrastructure. I'd like to thank our sponsors today, that's DataON and NVIDIA, for making this event possible. Without their support, we don't have the chance to bring you this great information. Now, of course, the topic of this stature is one that has many nuances, so we have a great, experienced, and knowledgeable panel with us today. We have Moti Beck. He's Executive Management at NVIDIA. Welcome, Moti.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Happy to be here, and thanks for inviting me. I'll be discussing again with Howard, the good friend of mine, the value proposition of the solution and how we helped to make it great one.
Great. And as Moti said, our next speaker is Howard Lowe. He's VP for Sales and Marketing at DataON. Glad to have you, Howard.
Thank you, Aaron, for inviting us. It's a great opportunity to share our experience and journey that we have been with many of our customers and share those journeys and technology that we'd like to bring to you today.
Great. Well, Howard, are customers really adopting hybrid cloud in large numbers today?
That's a great question, Aaron. I think the trend is definitely trajectory, a very positive direction where many decision makers and IT admin are looking at how to take their solution and infrastructure in a balanced way, rather than have everything on premises or everything into the cloud. We are definitely looking at the concept of hybrid. Hybrid ability for them to leverage the capability of latency and performance on premises, but still take advantage of all the services they have in the cloud, specifically Azure. So definitely, I do believe the direction and the future of infrastructure is hybrid, and many data point to it in terms of growth and opportunity. More importantly, I think as we talk to many customers within our world, we see that there are many drivers why customers really want hybrid. I think the driver could be the fact that they want to make sure that they have a broader scope, ability to take advantage of the cloud infrastructure and capability, ability to do DR, disaster recovery, look at security, but looking also at workloads that they cannot run in on-premises, but they could do it in a cloud basis. So the ability to really shift between a cloud infrastructure and an on-premise infrastructure is really the key driver for a hybrid cloud, where you can have the best of two worlds. So we really believe as these drivers continue to amplify with our customer base, more and more customers will go to the hybrid route and evaluate that as an infrastructure for their future.
So Howard, Azure in a hybrid cloud environment powered by HCI is a very attractive option. It has so many benefits. Can we go through what some of those are? Because I think they're important to cover.
I think it's very important for all the audience and decision maker and all the customer out there looking at the option they have. Hyperconverged infrastructure has definitely been one of the key drivers for a lot of enterprise infrastructure as they continue to modernize the data center. The key benefit of an HCI clearly is that the ability for you to have a better scalability, ability to have better resiliency, and able to control kind of your infrastructure as you grow based on your requirements. Now comes Microsoft. Microsoft has been really orchestrating the concept of HCI for the last 10 years, I would say. And I'm very happy to say that last year, Microsoft officially came out with a brand new infrastructure solution called Azure Stack HCI. Azure Stack HCI is really built on top of all the learning they have for the last 10 years. And believe it or not, the entire stack and software actually is what's powering Azure today. So Microsoft really has taken this solution and really proved that it's really the right solution for enterprise before we brought to the masses. So what that means with Azure Stack HCI is, number one, it's really designed for hybrid. Because which company do you know that really have a great on-premise solution like Windows Server and also have a broad cloud offering like Azure that can really design a hybrid cloud infrastructure? And this is why HCI is very important for Microsoft and when they came out with Azure Stack HCI. For them to do this, they want to make sure the solution itself scales very well and has the best price for performance value. When we talk about scalability, Azure Stack HCI could start with a simple 2-node solution back-to-back, but you can scale all the way up to 16 nodes and petabyte level storage. This is a very unheard of solution as you continue to evaluate your solution. At the same time, they want to make sure Windows admin and decision maker are familiar with the technology and the tools and management console they use. So they brought out the solution to make sure that all the aspects of management are very familiar to Windows admin as they adopt into the new Azure Stack HCI world. But at the same time, they want to provide choices. As the customer evaluate the solution of HCI, they want to make sure they can run the right workloads for their deployment. Whether or not the workload is SQL workload, storage, VDI, these are all workloads supported and really optimized for Azure Stack HCI environment to provide the flexibility of a hyperconverged infrastructure. As we continue down the road of a hybrid, it's important to understand as virtualization continues to grow and we could connect to these Azure services, we want to make sure that the solution that our customer run really help make sure that your solution is secure. And this is why it's important Microsoft focus extensively on security, making sure that when they develop a hybrid cloud solution with Azure Stack HCI, it is the most secure solution for your data center. At the same time, they want to provide the flexibility for you to not only run the solution in your data center, but also along your edge, whether or not your edge is for your intelligent AI or remote office branch offices. All these solution and workloads can seamlessly run whether or not in a 2-node or a 3-node solution. At the same time, performance is also one of the key drivers for many customers. You want to make sure you have a solution that has the best performance for your database application. Example, SQL. You can have Oracle databases. As you virtualize these databases in your Windows VM, you'll realize the kernel ability to talk from the kernel level all the way up to the Hyper-V level really allows the customer to have the best performance in the HCI world. But more importantly, using the latest technology like NVMe, persistent memory, high-performance networking allows you to have the best performance you have. So you can see as this direction continues, customers continue to migrate and look at HCI as their solution for their new infrastructure. From a big picture perspective, you will understand that Azure HCI is really truly a hybrid cloud solution. From this picture graph that we're talking about, you can see that there are many, many choices out there for Microsoft for you to find the right partner to deploy your solution. DataON clearly is one of the partners highly participating and been partnering with Microsoft for the last 10 years to provide an optimal solution for our customers. Our solution is not just hardware. It's really truly a turnkey appliance to make sure when a customer chooses Azure Stack HCI, they have a peace of mind working with DataON and Microsoft to run their workloads seamlessly. As you put the Azure Stack HCI OS onto an infrastructure, now you have the ability to make a choice whether or not I want to run virtual machine or really Kubernetes services and container. You can see as you continue to broaden out these capabilities, you really see the beauty and the capability and performance of a hybrid infrastructure, where not only are you running virtual machine in your data center, you can also take those virtual machines and take advantage of all the hybrid services offered by Microsoft Azure. Whether or not these are security center, backup, disaster recovery, management update, all these are seamlessly connected to Azure to provide that experience where you can have an on-premises infrastructure while taking advantage of all hybrid services. But the story doesn't stop there. With the emergence of Kubernetes containers, you can also run container cognitive services and data services on top of your on-premises Azure Stack HCI offered by DataON. And now you can see all your applications that you're running today to really, really reside across all your infrastructure systems. To wrap it up, Microsoft says, now you have the ability to see the entire cluster through their new management platform called Azure Arc. You have a single portal that you can look at all your cluster, all your applications in a single pane of glass and manage everything in totality. This is not just a technology that we're talking about. Over 95% of Fortune 500 uses Azure today. These are names that you are familiar with, and these are people that really believe that going to Microsoft Azure and taking advantage of hybrid cloud is the right IT decision and technology direction for them. And we really hope you as enterprise customer and decision maker will make that Microsoft choice as well. Microsoft are really getting a lot of attention recently as they continue to work with customer and partners to really broadcast and help them understand the benefit of Azure Stack HCI. You'll see that they have now got recognition across multiple sectors, whether or not it's technical review like storage review, where they recently actually named Azure Stack HCI the Editor Choice Award for 2021 for one of the best HCI in the world. At the same time, believe it or not, the solution was provided by Microsoft and DataON to run this Azure Stack HCI with our DataON AZS 6224 integrated system. At the same time, for channel, all the partners are recognized Microsoft in their solution as the tech innovator. So you'll see not only does technology really bring benefits to the customer, they're really getting a lot of notoriety and recognition in the industry. I'd like to dive a little bit into what exactly is in an Azure Stack HCI and why customers believe is the right solution for them. If you look at the technology and you could go to Microsoft and search HCI, you'll see an entire page and documentation describing the benefit of Azure Stack HCI. And you can really deploy the solution either as a validated node or the new solution called integrated system. I'd like to spend some time on really talking about what an integrated system is. An integrated system really allows a customer to have appliance-like experience. Not only is it easy to procure and simple to deploy, but more importantly, it delivers the highest reliability, where DataON and Microsoft continue to test and validate to make sure everything is seamless across the board. At the same time with the integrated system, it is really, really hassle-free, where you could update your BIOS firmware and driver in the background without taking the cluster down to make sure you have the great experience. But most importantly, you have the best of the world-class support between Microsoft and DataON, where you have a single point engagement to deliver that solution for you. And as we move forward to the new technology, you'll see that security will come to top of mind, where we believe that integrated system will deliver. As we continue down the building block of building the right solution, DataON offers a variety of the solutions for our customer. These enterprise-level server nodes are manufactured by Intel, but delivered by DataON. Whether or not it's in a single server architecture for 1U all flash, which is optimized for density performance, or a hybrid solution where you have most capacity. But more importantly, it delivers choice for you, where you could deliver performance, capacity, and storage based on your workload, and DataON will help you to make that happen.
Howard, this is an amazing solution. There's a lot of real benefits there. Can you tell us about some of the unique capabilities of your solutions, such as WAC and Must Pro?
Absolutely. As we alluded earlier, Microsoft has spent many years perfecting this technology as they bring to the masses and enterprise customer adopting this solution. I think more importantly, DataON want to be the partner that adds value to our enterprise customer as we've been engaging with the customer for the last 30 years. DataON spent the last 5 years developing our software stack. The software stack really focused on management and monitoring for the Azure Stack HCI platform. With DataON Must and Must Pro, a Windows admin could easily monitor their entire infrastructure in a single pane of glass as an extension to the Windows Admin Center delivered by Microsoft. You now have the ability to have real-time inventory scan, looking at call home services if there's a drive failure, and also helping you predict what the future looks like. As Microsoft continue to roll out appliance-like feature like seamless clusterware updates, DataON rolled out Must Pro, which help you keep your system updated via our solution to make sure you don't have to take a node down when you do BIOS firmware update. We will do that seamlessly in the background without any disruption to your system. These are capabilities that DataON continue to deliver to our customer to make sure we add value to the entire solution. One of the key reasons why customers continue to come back to DataON and DataON prides our value is our deployment, warranty, and support. We pride ourselves on making sure that we always put customer benefit the foremost important aspect of our capability. When we deploy a solution, we want to make sure we deliver end-to-end support and have a hands-on approach to all the deployment. Whether or not it's working with the customer to understand your workload, your environment, whether or not to be on-site for deployment, but more importantly, make sure that once it's available, we transfer all the knowledge to the customer so they can manage this infrastructure in their own environment. Once the infrastructure is in place, DataON provides premium support for the next 3 to 5 years with 24/7 round-the-clock technical support. We want to make sure the customer have a peace of mind. At Saturday night at 1 a.m., if there's any issues, they can pick the phone or email DataON, and our support engineer, along with Microsoft, will be on the line to make sure we help you resolve your issues. That's the DataON guarantee. As we look forward, I think it's important to understand when one builds this infrastructure for a hybrid cloud, you want to choose the right building blocks to have the best solution. These building blocks include compute with the newest, latest Xeon generation of Intel CPU. Making sure the platform is optimized for performance and resiliency with PCIe Gen 4 with higher bandwidth DDR4 technology. But for storage, you want to make sure you have cache and storage or NVMe so you have the best performance to take advantage of all the low latency across the board. With Xeon Gen 3, you now come with security where you have root of trust, with Secure Core where we will protect the infrastructure from the core, but more importantly, to make sure everything comes together with a good integration. But one of the key components that we believe to make this building block important is networking. Without a good network, you cannot have a performance reliability that customer come to require for the infrastructure, especially with RDMA SMB3, where it supports up to 200 gigabyte bandwidth. This is very unique to Microsoft, Azure Stack HCI, and that's the reason we partner with the best of the best in industry, NVIDIA Networking, who will deliver the best solution to ensure that these solutions are in top shape.
Howard, thank you very much. Really an amazing product, and so many ways it can be deployed and used. That really appreciate you telling us some more details on that. I'd like to switch over to Moti now, and Moti, how do you see HCI benefiting customers, particularly around the more demanding applications becoming common, things like AI and machine learning? There's just a lot out there that's going to really tax the hardware.
Yeah. So there are a couple of ways to look at it. One of them is why customers need the HCI, and as all we agreed and discussed before, the HCI gives the customer the capabilities or the ability actually to come with a first cloud solution and strategy approach, but still to keep on-prem their own deployment for special cases that they cannot run over the cloud. If you don't want to use data or the data is very confidential, you don't want probably to put it in the cloud, and you still want to keep it on-prem, and the HCI gives the capability. From the other side, once we deploy the HCI solution, it needs actually, the customer needs to verify that it can run the modern application. And the modern application today is pretty complicated. As Howard said before, there are so many containers and so many mission-critical functions that need to run, and the east-west traffic started to be so huge that the network actually became a real bottleneck unless you are using the right network to drive the data and to provide the data to the solution. And if I'll deep dive a little bit into the architecture side of the solution, you can see why the hyperconverged, that it's on the right side of the slide, is even more sensitive to the performance of the network itself. On the left side, you can see the traditional approach to use two network technologies. One of them is the Ethernet for the compute, and the other one, fiber channel for the storage. It's a pretty expensive solution, but from the other side, it provides two networking solutions that can have a higher bandwidth, but pretty expensive, not just to deploy because it requires totally different technologies, but also to manage. On the right side, you have the hyperconverged, that it's actually one set of nodes that both of them run the compute and the storage together. And the storage run over software defined. This is the storage spaces direct that Microsoft developed for the last 10 years. But now the network needs to do all the kind of functions, including not just the compute, not just the storage, but also the management, dedupe, and the performance is really important from the network point of view. And this is why we are happy actually to work with DataON on providing the highest performance network that's available today in the market.
Moti, RDMA is a technology that some aren't very familiar with. Can you tell us a little bit about what it provides and what the benefits are? Because it truly helps drive the performance we're talking about.
Yeah, I'll be happy to. And this is a slide basically that summarizes everything. On the left side, you have the regular TCP or the standard TCP IP technology that works. It will continue to work and going to be with us for a very long time, maybe forever. But you see that if you want to transfer data or storage from one client or from the storage to the client, there are many steps that protocols need to go through, and the data needs to be copied many times also on the client side and also on the storage side. And every time that you are using the TCP IP, actually, I just want to mention that it also runs over and takes cycles from the CPU itself. So it's not just about the delay or the performance, the lower performance, but also taking cycles from the CPU, cycles that could be used to accelerate the application if the CPU would have more cycles available. And those are the TCP IP protocol is actually an overhead compared to the application itself that just needs the pure CPU cycles. And on the right side, you see the RDMA, Remote Direct Memory Access, that actually the CPU is pretty free. The remote or RDMA NICs are communicating between themselves and does the job, and when the data or the storage transferred from each side to the other, just tell the CPU, I'm done, and the CPU can take it. So this is one of the solutions, and very popular those days. It became a standard in any software-defined storage implementation. And actually, this is why, Microsoft chose at the time to use it. And this is a benchmark that was done a while back for Storage Spaces Direct that is being used on Azure Stack HCI that shows that the performance pretty much doubles. The same resources, no more extra cost, but the performance of the bandwidth doubled, and also not just the double, but also it takes 2x less or 50% less CPU cycles to do the job, so the overall effect is much higher compared to using the TCP IP.
The switches are really still an important part of the overall solution, and particularly in HCI. How do they help provide an optimized performance level for these HCI solutions, Moti?
The way to look at it is basically when somebody is building or choosing an HCI solution, it needs to take a look on the end-to-end networking path. If the NIC or the network controller is going to be fast and the switch is going to be slow, then we didn't do anything to improve the performance. So the way that I would recommend is to take a look on the overall end-to-end path from the transmitter to the receiver, and then you can see what are the overall delay and performance of the system itself. And here we are coming with our Spectrum switch, and as all know, the NVIDIA networking is the highest performance solution in the market today, not just on the NIC, but on the switches themselves. First of all, you need to analyze what is the latency that from port to port. And here you can see on the right side, you can see that in all different blocks sizes, pretty much we have a very lower, I would say, latency, and it's fixed. So the jitter is not an issue. We know exactly what to expect compared to other of our competitors that not just higher, but also not fixed latency between the two of them. Another element is to take a look on the buffer management. On each one of the switches, there is a huge buffer that stores the request in case that there is a contention on the same port. Many cases, those buffers are divided for a specific number of ports, and in case that there is a contention on those number of ports, then it cannot use the entire buffer, so the overall management of the buffer is pretty poor compared to what we are doing. We are managing it as a one buffer, regardless what port the data comes from. And of course, there are other scenarios that there is a burst operation that create contention, and we are not waiting until the data comes in and analyzing it. We are starting to do the analysis once the packet started to arrive, also added to the performance boost that the Spectrum switch enables. So again, take a look on the overall end-to-end solution, and I'm happy to work with DataON because they are using our both the NIC and the switch and the cables as well.
Well, Moti, we've talked a lot about performance, and performance is not only important now, but it becomes even more important in the future as we just see this whole range of highly demanding applications coming to the market and being developed today. You know, they're amazing. The AI, the learning, data sets. How is NVIDIA responding to this?
Yeah, so again, everything is about performance, and recently, as you mentioned, we see more and more machine learning algorithms and machine learning workloads started to be more and more popular, and the machine learning requires a lot of compute. A lot of compute. It's not just the compute itself, is the complexity of running machine learning is so huge that it affects not just the compute side, but also, of course, higher bandwidth on the network, as I mentioned before. So to do it, of course, customers can continue to run the traditional CPUs and to run it over the CPU, and it's going to run, but it's going to take forever. But in this case, the real approach or the best approach is to use GPU that does the job much faster and much more efficient compared to run it on the traditional CPUs. And this is what NVIDIA is known for, 20 years of experience on providing and developing GPUs, and recently, of course, to accelerate the machine learning workloads that are available today in the market. And our approach is actually to integrate the solution into one cluster, not to have the silos that are available or the past implementations that you had, a cluster of the compute and cluster of GPUs that makes everything cumbersome and not very efficient. So this is something that customers should look at and to include in their HCI GPUs as well. And I'm happy actually that DataON was among the first one to include it in their Azure Stack HCI product portfolio. If you go and choose from the catalog, you already have about 5 and maybe even more models of servers and clusters that include the NVIDIA GPUs. So the combination of the NVIDIA GPUs and the NVIDIA networking, of course, adds to the performance of the overall solution. I just choose, for example, one example just to show the benefits here, and there is a big data Spark, the Spark 3.0. It's an open source under the Apache, and you can see that Cloudera took and customized it and productized it, and there is a solution today that Cloudera provides to run a Spark over the GPUs with the highest performance networking, and you can see the benchmark that pretty much speaks by itself regarding the latency or how long it's going to run a specific benchmark in 1 terabyte and 10 terabyte. We don't have time to deep dive into it, but there are the links that you will be able to see more details.
Moti, thank you very much. Great information and great detail. Howard, I'd like to come back to you. We've talked about a lot of things. Why is the DataON NVIDIA solution an optimal approach to hybrid cloud for Azure?
Thanks, Aaron and Moti. That was incredible. I got excited just looking at the number, how incredible performance the NVIDIA networking delivered to the stack. It's important to understand that as a customer get on this journey of hybrid cloud, we at DataON and NVIDIA believe that we are the right partners taking you on that journey. And not only have years experience And not only are we a premier partner for Microsoft and NVIDIA, we really have experience to make sure that as we take you on this journey, we will make sure we understand your workload and you have a balance between an on-premise infrastructure and a hybrid infrastructure that for you to take advantage of all the hybrid cloud services. I think as you look at this last slide of all the customers who have made the Microsoft choice, there are over 30,000 clusters today per Microsoft that's been enabled with the software-defined technology of Azure Stack HCI. Whether or not you're a state, local government, retail, education, finance, utility, and manufacturing, every one of you really have an opportunity to look at this technology and really build a hybrid capability with Azure Stack hyperconverged infrastructure into your solution as the future area infrastructure to modernize your workload and to modernize your data center. We look forward to working with you along with our partner NVIDIA to make sure that we deliver the best solution for you and help you secure your data center. Thank you.
Howard, thank you very much. Unfortunately, we've come to the end of our allotted time for this webcast. I'd like to thank our speakers. First off, Howard and Moti, just a great job today. You know, a lot of excellent information, and really it's an option I think a lot of organizations are going to look at for their Azure cloud environment. I'd also like to thank our sponsors, NVIDIA and DataON, for making this event possible. But most of all, I'd like to thank you and our audience. We appreciate the fact that you have a busy day, and we like the fact that you make us part of it. Before you go, don't forget to check out the resources area. You can get a PDF copy of the slides today, which I think is a very valuable asset, and it'll also have the links so you can look at that performance data that was, frankly, off the charts. And there's additional resources that I think you'll find very useful as well. For IDG, NVIDIA, and DataON, this is Aaron Goldberg, signing off.